I believe much trouble would be saved if we opened our hearts more. Many, many words of truth were spoken by this character of history. It does not require many words to speak the truth, he also proclaimed. These are the words of a man whose name meant thunder rolling down the mountain, a man known in history as Chief Joseph. Chief Joseph was chief of the Nez Perce Indians and the architect of one of the most pivotal events of the 19th century, being the flight of the Nez Perce Indians in 1877. Unable to reason with the Civil War General Otis Howard, unwilling to live on a reserve of land, and unable to remain on their traditional homelands, the Nez Perce people followed Chief Joseph on a 1,500-mile journey that took them from their homeland in Oregon to the prairies of Montana. During their 3.5-month journey, the Nez Perce defeated 4 U.S. armies and created a legend that lives today. Chief Joseph is perhaps famous in history as he and his people represent the enduring spirit of humanity when faced with undefeatable odds. Chief Joseph was born in the Wallowa Valley in what is now northeastern Oregon in 1840. While he was given the name meaning thunder rolling down the mountain, he was widely known as Joseph or Joseph the Younger, as his father took the Christian name Joseph. Joseph the Elder was one of the first Nez Perce converts to Christianity and was an active supporter of the tribe's long-standing peace with the whites. As a child, young Joseph and his siblings grew up living a life of peace, hunting, fishing, and gathering food. In 1863, this long-standing peace with the white people came to an abrupt halt. During this time, a gold rush was pursued into the Nez Perce territory, which caused the federal government to take back almost 6 million acres of Nez Perce land, restricting the Nez Perce to a reservation in Idaho, a tenth of its previous size. In 1871, Joseph's father died, and the Nez Perce elected Joseph to succeed his father and become their new chief. Young Joseph was seen as a man of peace, and he acquired a reputation for his wisdom. With his new position as chief, he inherited the responsibility to conference with the American authorities for his tribe, but also the situation became more explosive as white settlers continued to invade the Wallowa Valley. Chief Joseph faced many adversities as both a Nez Perce and their leader. Adversity refers to instances or situations of misfortune or difficulty. Chief Joseph faced great adversity as he and his followers bared the misfortune of white settlers pushing into their homeland. Furthermore, Joseph suffered the loss of many of his Nez Perce tribe members through the long march toward Canada, and through the many battles that ensued along the way. Chief Joseph lost his younger brother, Ollicott, in the war. In my opinion, perhaps the greatest adversity faced by Chief Joseph was the loss of his and the Nez Perce's homeland in the Wallowa Valley. Having given in and surrendering the land to the government, Chief Joseph, as well as the remaining Nez Perce tribe members, were moved to a settlement in Kansas, far from their original territory. It would have served a great hurt on Chief Joseph's shoulders to know he and his people were only 40 miles from the border of reaching Canada, their destination, when Chief Joseph surrendered to U.S. troops. In terms of overcoming such adversities, Chief Joseph never gave up his service as being the voice for his people. While he never was able to return to his homeland as he was promised, he fought until the day of his death to be the voice and support for his people. His early resistance to the removal from his homeland aided his becoming a renowned peacemaker. He spoke against the injustice of United States policy against his people and continued to stand up for the rights of his brothers in hopes that Americans' promise of freedom and equality would one day be extended to Native Americans as well. Years later, in 1897, Chief Joseph visited Washington to again plead the rights of his people. Then, in 1903, he visited Seattle, and later President Roosevelt in D.C. Of the many places he visited in the last years of his life, it was always to make a plea for the remaining Nez Perce to be returned to their home in the Wallowa Valley. There are things to be learned from the legacy of this Native American war chief known as Chief Joseph. In terms of leadership, we can learn to be a servant of our people, otherwise recognized as a leadership style of servant leadership. Joseph served as the voice of his people until he died in 1904, and gave up the land his father was buried on, which he promised to withhold, in order to keep the peace and avoid bloodshed of his people. One might also learn the importance of recognizing and accepting diversity in leadership. As a chief, Joseph got along well with the white settlers and respected them, only letting go of such respect and good intentions when they were not returned to him and his people. As he said, "All men were made by the Great Spirit, Chief. They are all brothers." I believe much trouble would be saved if we opened our hearts more. This is advice any person, potential leader or not, could adopt. Open our hearts to people, to ideas, to change, and to acceptance.